close read number 5. Read the question.
Why does the author take the title of the book from this section?
Okay, well, there was a flood, and Janie and Tea Cake did not want to pay attention to the muck workers or the Native Americans, and they stayed at their house. And when the flood came, they tried to escape, and then they found an abandoned house, and the storm and flood was getting way worse. Angie, continue.
Did you say about motorboat?
No, you say that.
Okay, so the flood was getting worse, so they tried to escape the house. So they went to outside, fighting the flood and the harsh weather, everything. And then they found a motorboat, and so motorboat came with them. And they ended up finding a house that was abandoned. So they were there, and then the storm got worse, so the lights went off, and they were all in darkness, and Tea Cake apologized to Janie for, bringing her there, and he was like, "Oh, Janie, I'm so sorry. I bet if you stayed in that big old house of yours, you'd be off, well better." And so Janie's like, "Oh no, I've lived, a well life with you, and, nothing would be better than be with you." And he, it meant, the world to him. And they sat there in darkness, and their eyes just staring against the walls. And then the author puts, they seemed to be staring at the dark, but their eyes were watching God. And for me, that meant that it could be the end of their lives there. So for them to be watching God, or for God to be present there, that's a big thing. And so their eyes are watching God, just like they're waiting if God decides to take their lives then or not. That's my interpretation of it.
Okay, number 2. Why are the characters questioning, then watching God? The characters are questioning because they don't know what's going to happen next, and they're in the darkness, and they don't know what's happening, and they don't know if they can rely on God to help them now, because it might be the end for them because of the flood and them not preparing and listening and watching God's warning.
In my opinion, I think that they're questioning because, if I did this, would I be in a different situation? The first thing that goes into your mind when you think you're going to die, or you might have a chance of dying, is, what could I have done to, avoid this? So they start, questioning people, or, themselves. Tea Cake starts asking Janie, right here, it says, "I reckon you wish now you had stayed in your big house, away from such as this, don't you?" And he's just like, "Oh, I could have saved her. She could have been fine. The love of my life is here, and she could die, and it's all my fault." But once they get over that, because Janie, again, she's like, "Oh no, I could have wished nothing better than to be with you." Then they start watching God, because then from there, then they're like, "Oh, my fault? It's not my fault, really. It's God. God is the one who's gonna decide whether I'm staying or not, whether I live to be with this person or not." That was, my choice, my path.
Okay. How is this section a microcosm of the entire book? Well, I think it is because the entire book they're they're like watching God and questioning their next move and trying to see like what God has planned for them, but they should be relying on themselves and finding their own path instead of relying on someone else. And like Janie, the whole book, she just expects like she's gonna find her true love and like that God's gonna give her what she wants exactly, but he doesn't because she needs to find out and figure her life out for herself. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like, all her life, she's like, I'm gonna find that way that was paved for me. Like, I'm gonna have my happy ending. But she kind of went on detours instead. Like, with Jody and, what was that guy's name?
Logan.
Oh, Logan. Right, him. Like, she wasn't expecting that. She's like, that was really her grandmother's decision, and she was kind of like watching God, like, hey, do something, like, help me out here.
Yeah.
But like, he didn't really until now. Like, now it's like the final plea for him. Like, this is life or death now.
Yes. Okay, are we done?
I think so. How long was it?
Goodbye.